hate this. Why do I do this to myself? Dang, dude, this job sucks. I would never do this for anyone. What's up, dude? Welcome back. This video is going to be pretty interesting, mainly because I don't think I've seen anything else like it anywhere on YouTube. And what I'm going to be doing is just narrowing the rear axle tubes on the Type 3 transmission right here. You saw the engine over here, kind of just sitting around, and all the other parts that I've taken apart, the front beam right there ready to get installed. But I am going to be focusing on taking this transmission apart. Well, actually not really the transmission, but the axle tubes, the axles, all of that needs to come off, because I finally found myself a pair of Type 1 1966 short axle tubes and short axles so I can narrow the rear track width of the car. And you can see right here I also have these short axles. These are short axle, short splined. I'll get some measurements later on, but just trust me, they're shorter than the ones that I have right now. I think it's like a whole 30 millimeters narrower on each side, so that should be pretty cool. I'll have a lot of options for wheels in the future. But I also picked up another pair of these Type 3 hubs, and I do need to take these over to Russ over at Old Speed, because in order for these to actually bolt on, because these are shorter splines, you can see right here, this is just a little bit too long. So they need to machine this down just a tiny bit. That way the castle nut can bolt on and put the cotter pin in there. That way the wheel doesn't fall off. So follow me on this adventure. I'm gonna be taking those over to Russ shortly so that he can help me out and get started on putting all this together. Yo, voiceover Jeremy here. Yeah, the shop was really loud, so you can't even hear me talking, but basically that's Russ right there, and I'm here at Old Speed. Russ invited me over to kind of walk around and take a look at what they got, and I wish I could show you the cars that he's got in here, but I mean, understandably, with respect to his clients, I don't really want to show that. And here is all the machine work here. Russ has completed the sandblast or bead blast, and he's getting the lathe set up so that he can kind of machine these down a bit.
What are you building?
Type 3, 67.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Fastback to squareback.
Squareback.
Okay, cool.
The best one.
Yeah. ain't all 67s the best ones?
Exactly, the cream of the crop.
Yep.
All right, I just came from Home Depot to pick up some paint. I got all black paint, and Russ really hooked it up. They ended up blasting everything, so all my axle tubes here are all blasted or media blasted with I don't know, glass or something like that. All these axles are completely done. I ended up getting these bearing caps from Russ as well, because I was just gonna do some research to see where I could find them, but he told me he actually had them in stock. So he also like wire wheeled these, and he kind of like flattened the surface out and then just blasted everything. Even this was the one that got machined down. Yeah, everything is so nice, way nicer than I expected, because I originally was planning on just wire wheeling everything, but I mean, he offered to just get these blasted, so why not? So now that I have all that paint ready, I think I'm just gonna paint all of this stuff before I really get started on taking apart my current setup. Parts are masked off and ready to get painted. I don't think I'm gonna paint the actual axles because I'm thinking maybe if the paint eventually kind of wears out and starts to chip off, it's just gonna end up in the oil. So I'm just not gonna deal with that. I think I'll just leave this as is. They're super clean, there's no more rust on it. So I'm gonna put like a layer of oil on it so that it doesn't start to flash rust. But everything else here, the hubs, bearing caps, and the axle tubes, they're all gonna get painted. Now the actual axle tubes, I'm gonna use this Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch. It's paint and primer gloss so that it's nice and shiny. And then the other ones that are kind of a little bit more hidden, I'm just gonna use this Quick Color all-purpose spray paint. It's just the cheaper paint. This was like $2 and this was like $7, I think. So I'm gonna get started on painting all of this stuff. A few coats later, they should be good enough to hold up. Now moving on to the transmission, while that dries up, I need to drain the transmission oil using this 17 down here. And then I think there's another one over here too. So I will just let those drain on this pan while all of that is still drying. Little bit of an oil leak never hurt nobody. So I have the axle boots off of the axles, and I think before I start to take this apart, I think I might as well just start cleaning a bunch of this stuff up. This transmission was just repainted not too long ago, so I'm just gonna clean it, just wipe the dust off of it. Down here at the bottom it's just a little bit juicy from some oil, but nothing really major. So I'm gonna clean everything up. I have here a toothbrush and then just an old rag. I might even just use some water or something, but it's really not too bad. So once that's all cleaned up, I will start to take the axles out. Okay, this puller is always fun to use. So I already removed all 6 nuts and washers from that end. So this plate is now loose. This wheel bearing here is kind of pressed into the axle tube. So in order to pull that out, and this one here too, this one's a little stuck. But in order to pull those out, I need to use this puller here so that it pushes on the axle and it pulls the axle tube out this way. And then there goes your axle tube completely removed. I'm actually not even sure if you can do this exact same job with the transmission still on the car, because I think the frame things go right here and it might be a little difficult to get this plate out. But even if you could, honestly, I really wouldn't even want to, because I would just be doing all this work crouched down under there, whereas now I'm like standing. So yeah, it's not that much more work to pull the transmission out, so I'm just gonna do it this way. So this is a part that I've never done before, which is to completely remove this axle from the transmission. So on the inside, you can see that there's this C-clip right here. And shout out to my buddy William. He gave me this, whatever this is called, thingy. But yeah, that goes in there, and then that big old C-clip thing should just pop out. Let's see. It's probably better to turn this axle in a way so that I can get it out of the way like that. This is pretty difficult. Dang, did you see that spark? I don't know if these are strong enough actually. Let's see. So these snap ring pliers did not work out for me. So I went to O'Reilly's and they also didn't have anything. So I went to AutoZone and I bought a bunch of stuff. I bought like 3 different kinds. I got another set of snap ring pliers, but they may not work. They kind of look smaller than the one that I have. So for sure that's not gonna work. I got these ones. They're kind of interesting. They're like angled, but I think the one that's gonna work is this really long needle nose one. Dang, man. Let's try these angled ones. Yeah, that's definitely not gonna work. Ah, damn it. Would you look at that? After several attempts, I finally got that clip out of the way. And this actual should be ready to go now, but look how many tools I use. So I bought all of that from AutoZone because mine wasn't working. So I started using a whole bunch of mine, and this one here is straight up garbage. That's Harbor Freight. This one here was a little too skinny and it was just bending the tips. This one here was pretty solid, but it was a little too small. And this one here was the savior because the tips here are kind of bent, and no matter how much I could get grip on here, the tighter it would get, the more slippery it would be on the tips here. So that's why this one here was pretty useful being like bent. So if you have something kind of weird like that, that's going to be super helpful for getting that out. So I am going to tackle the other side and hopefully I can put those back on using this tool. So this C-clip here should just come out. Oh no, am I gonna need to take this off now? Oh man. Maybe I could just take that off. We'll see. Oh, there we go. Got it out. This spacer will come out, or whatever you call this, I don't know. And then voila. Now you have to make sure these things here, I guess, don't lose them. Let me grab a magnet. Sweet. Now let's work on the other side. Man, I take this back. You definitely can't do this with the transmission still in the car. So this is the trick right here. Because this is so short, I can't go that way, so I have to go here, which means I need to clamp my hand around this way. Wow, that was super easy. I guess that's the trick. Now that I have everything taken apart, I have all the old and the new parts side by side so I can compare the differences in lengths. So the axle here, from the very end all the way to the tips, on my stock one, it stops at right around 28 1/4. And the shorter Type 1 1966 short axle, short spline ones are around 26 and maybe 3/4, maybe a half. Now from there to this portion here, it's around 23 1/4. Here is about 22 1/4. And if we move this down here from where this bearing sits on the inside to the tip is about 5 inches. And then from there to here is about 4.5. And that's actually exactly why this one here was machined down an inch shorter than this one in order for that to bolt on to here, because this is 1/2 inch shorter than this. Moving on to the axle tubes. So starting off from the end here where it connects to the transmission, the stock one here stops at around 22 inches. The shorter one is right around 21, give or take. And the big differences are this measurement here, that's around 4.5, a little under maybe. Here, the shorter one stops at around 3 1/4, give or take. They're definitely a whole bunch shorter. One last thing, and I wanted to make sure I cover the last piece of the puzzle. And like I mentioned, I ended up buying this from Russ because he had it in stock. And this honestly is the most confusing part for this whole conversion, or at least it was for me, because everybody that I talked to kept giving me this part number 311, 501, 311. And every time I looked it up, I just kept finding other type 31s and I had no idea what I was looking for. So Russ gave me this one and he assured me that this is gonna fit. This is also 311, 501, 311, but the difference is the height right here. So this is a little bit taller than my stock Type 3. And I believe it came off of a bug between 1961 through 1967. So if you're doing this conversion, make sure you find this piece. All right, we're gonna put all this back in with the new short axle, and hopefully we can put the C-clip back on. So these things go in first. Actually, it's pretty cool inside here. Let me just show you what is inside. This comes off, it's like the gear, and right there. Pretty cool, huh? All right. Oh shoot. Oops. Don't drop that. That would be not cool. So you have to make sure those metal pieces in there are completely flat and straight, I guess, before just jamming this axle in there. And to be honest, not 100% sure what I'm doing. Uh-oh, where did I put that C-clip? This is actually harder than I thought, because it wants to like swing over. I don't know if that makes any sense, but dang it. I hate this. Why do I do this to myself? How do I make these stay? The heck? How? Tell me, what's the secret? We have the technology. Am I gonna have to do this off camera? What the heck? Okay, I can't freaking do this. So I'm gonna try something maybe weird. I don't know. See, because it needs to go in like that. I guess I could just drop it in now. Like that. See? Told you it was easy. All right, this clip now. I think it's this way. All right, I don't know where I put that C-clip. I'll just have to use the other one from the other side. Hopefully I can find the other one before I put the other side on. Oh wow, that was not too bad. I just have to make sure it goes in the groove. And there we have it. Sweet. this side is done. Let's get started on the other side. Moving over to the driver's side, same thing, except I don't think this side comes off. It may be a little bit more difficult to get this side in because of these little shim thingies. Dang it. There has to be a trick to this. All right, I'll get back to it. Interesting. Turns out I can also pull this out on the driver's side. See, maybe here from the back I could line it up. Damn, this sucks. How do you guys do this? Whoa! I'm about to drop tools all over my feet. There we go. Let's go. There we go. Sweet. Awesome. Okay, let's put that little plate thing. Hopefully this isn't side specific. I think it goes in this way. But there is a little nub here. I know earlier I was kind of just yanking on it, but this little bump here, there is a partition, whatever, so that this comes out like a certain direction. There you go. And once that goes in, this C-clip will slide right in there with the help of my friend. Dang, dude, this job sucks. I would never do this for anyone. Sweet. That is in. All right. Everything else should be pretty straightforward now. Just bolt everything back in, but I do have to kind of play around with the gasket usage here, so let's start doing that. I forgot to mention the differences in these two axles because these are type 1 and these are type 3. The first thing I noticed when I picked these up was this right here, which is a brake line bracket. Type 3 doesn't have that because it's actually connected to behind the spring plate here. But I guess type 1s go here. I don't know, but I didn't need this. I could have chopped this off, but I just left it. And type 3 has this here for the Z-bar thingy. I guess type 1 doesn't have that, so I may not even be able to use my Z-bar thingy here in the back, right here. Oh well, I'll just take that off and put that on. Next up are gonna be these gaskets here. These red ones are the ones that I put on last time I worked on this transmission, and when I went to go get some more for this time around, they had the brown paper ones. I don't know what the difference is. I think it's a little bit thicker. Before, when I did it, one side had 2 gaskets and the other side had 4. Now, since these are a little bit thicker, I think I'm gonna have to remeasure everything instead of just tossing everything in there. I'm not really gonna go through that in a lot of detail just because I've already done that. If you wanna learn how I did that on episode 31, right around the 17-minute mark. So I'm just gonna zoom past this one. After watching that video I referred to, you should basically understand why I have to do what I'm doing here and how to do it. Here I ended up with only 2 gaskets. I'm gonna take this out one last time and put Permatex in every single layer, so it will be this plate, Permatex, gasket, Permatex, gasket, Permatex, and then transmission. Man, all this work and it looks exactly the same. I'm just kidding. I'm sure once it's installed onto the car, you're definitely going to be able to tell the difference with the shorter axles because the wheels are going to be super sunken. So I'm really excited for that. I'm looking forward to it because I've had these parts for a really long time and I've just been waiting for this very moment for me to install all of this. I think this should be pretty much how it should be. It shouldn't be too loose or too tight, and then it should still kind of swing up and down here for the suspension to kind of articulate. So that is looking great. Now the last thing I need to do here is just finish putting on all the brakes that I took off. I've already started here with the bearing caps. I've installed one of the wheel seals onto the new bearing cap here. Here is the moment of truth. I'm going to install this new machined hub onto the splines. And I think, yeah, the VW logo goes towards the transmission. Oh yeah, that just slides right in. Sweet. And there we have it. Everything is installed. Short axle tubes, machined hub. Let's see, what else did I put on? New gaskets, new seals, all of that. So, yep, this is basically how to install short axles on a Type 3 transmission. I didn't put the drums back on yet just because I did spill a little bit of transmission oil here when I was taking it apart, and I don't want the inside of the drum to get contaminated with oil because I don't have any brake clean right now. So I'm just gonna wait to put those drums back on, maybe until another day or something. But yeah, this is pretty much gonna be the end of the video. So yeah, man, I am really excited to finally get this out. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there's not really a lot of information on anything Type 3 really. Putting all of this stuff on is like impossible to find online. So yeah, really all you can find is like old Samba threads and whatever. For me, it's like a lot of like TLDR. I'd rather watch a video than read like a novel on how to install stuff. So hopefully this video helps some of you guys. I know there's been a lot of questions on how to get this all installed, all the pieces that are needed for it. Hopefully this is helpful to you guys. So give it a like, thumbs up, all of that stuff. I don't know. Do what you want. Thanks for watching, guys.